diversity, but then at the same time, you're making statements like multicultural diversity crap, and you make several statements that are very hypocritical of the position that you have, like black people referring to them as Uncle Toms, and referring to your town.
What was your reading comprehension score? That is what the left calls black conservatives if they disagree with the liberal orthodoxy. Yes, yes.
What's your question?
I'm fine with it. I love this.
I just don't understand why you're saying that you are for diversity when you are making so many racial undertones about diversity and how racist you are being about racism. You're saying that
this was the type of stuff why one must reject the post-structural. No offense, you are the definition of the indoctrination and you don't even understand what you're saying.
Exactly.
God help us.
Never credit for bravery.
I do.
I am not going to accept that comment because I don't feel that I'm being brave. But I just want to say that if you want college students to understand your campaign, you're going to actually have to follow through with how open-minded you say you're being.
Where's the question? What's the question?
Well, I was going to ask something, but I feel that you're not going to listen to what I have to say.
Come on.
Are you open-minded, right?
Well, my question was originally about the diversity stuff, and then you guys just started talking about what I was saying.
I understand the language, and you're implying that I'm racist. Okay? And that is what you are, that is going to be the sum total of your education as you go out there, and you're not going to be able to make anything. And that's what I graduated with my American Studies degree, the ability to judge other Americans as not being sufficiently tolerant because they didn't agree with the left's definition of tolerance. And I'm telling you this, is that you need to understand what multiculturalism is and what political correctness is. And it is cultural Marxism. And it is the translation of Marxist theory from, instead of the haves versus the have-nots. It didn't work in this country. So they created the oppressor versus the oppressed. And so they pitted people in the name of diversity, where they pit Hispanics against each other. Do you know what La Raza is? Do you know what the Reconquistador movement is? It is a racist movement in this country. What about the New Black Panthers, who are supported? They're racist. And the definition of racism is only white people can be racist because black and Hispanics can't be. That is malarkey. They have you thinking in terms of race. They have you thinking in terms of race. Everything is race. There was a world before this that was created. The buildings that were made here were made by people who didn't graduate their colleges obsessed with race. They learned through math. They learned through science how to improve. I'm answering. You had your statement. You had your statement, and I am answering it. You do not interrupt me. This educational system is going to fail you. You will not be able to invent a widget, and you certainly won't be able to build it in this country anymore. They have ruined. I am the ultimate example. I graduated from college believing exactly as you believe, and I walked in from the theoretical world into the real world and realized if I wanted to put rice on the table and pay for my rent, I better get out of this victimhood mentality, and I did. Listen to Hispanic conservatives. Listen to black conservatives. I'm the guy I'm the guy who has many people on the right saying, what are you doing on the Go Proud advisory board? If you can't be gay and conservative, then I'm not conservative. If you are, it doesn't even make sense to me. If you believe in fiscal conservatism, if you believe in personal responsibility, if you believe in a strong national defense, I want you on my team. That's where I'm coming from. And so you are brainwashed to think I am a racist, and you think I'm speaking in code terms. I don't think I could be any more explicit. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And I believe to the core of my being that this country will be destroyed by people like you who think you are doing good while you divide. You divide into separate, different categories and we pit against each other. There should be no Congressional Black Caucus. There should be no Latino caucus.
Yes.
Pluribus unum. E pluribus unum beats multiculturalism. That's it. You already had your main point. You already did. You had an enormous amount of time. It's unfair to the people behind you. It's unfair to the people behind you.
Thank you for being here. I loved your book.
Wait, I want an affirmative action moment here. In the name of diversity, young lady, I see a man who happens to have dark skin. I'd like to hear what he has to say in response to this. David? Am I insane to believe this and believe in what I do?
Andrew, thank you for coming here to see. I would say one thing. You are not racist. Period. Well, I asked that question this evening. I went to take just, if you let me, one moment to address this crowd. I know that a lot of you here, I might jump around the 50s, and I watched from afar what happened to the Soviet Union and the horrors that those people went through. This claim of racism is a false claim. Do not back down, not 1 inch. Listen to a philosopher once. I don't have to read what he said. He lived in the time that was. I was born in 1957, 100 years after Dred Scott versus Seinfeld. And I could look back and see what happened. Where people were enslaved, not only in this country, but 1860, I believe that was when the serfs were done away with in Russia. But slavery was all around. I see what's coming is enslavement of this entire society. If we do not turn this around, it's serious. It's just that serious. And now, this is what I see. And you brought up a lot about the racism, and I've been asked why there are not as many blacks around. And I'm giving you that. Very important. In the mid-60s, I watched fire hoses, Volcon, and as we're trying to get rights, just to be left alone. And there was a claim by the head of the FBI who said, you know, the communists have infiltrated the civil rights movement. And I just discarded that because I wanted to succeed. I wanted my rights to succeed in this country. But the truth is, it did. And because the civil rights movement was was related to the church, it has also moved into the black church. And so I can go in a major church in this area, black church, and I'll see young men coming in with Obama on their t-shirts. I walk into a bookstore, and I see Obama paraphernalia. I see more images of Obama than I do of Jesus Christ. Just like the French Revolution, when they wanted to replace the cathedrals with reason and take away God. Just like in Hitler's 1930, when they wanted to take away the cross and put Hitler, it's the same thing. Soviet Union, the same thing. I believe they tore down the cathedral in order to replace it with monument to Lenin. So it's not about racism. I believe, for the most part, that blacks have been seduced by communism. Right now, we basically have a closet communist as the president of the United States. I believe what's required is a religious conversion, but I do not know how to do that. How do we do that?
Well, first of all, it was the long march to the institutions, and that's exactly what it was. And the Venona wires showed that the people that the left and the media were trying to defend, such as Alger Hiss or the Rosenbergs, were in fact working for the Soviet Union. And yet Hollywood has tried to unwrite that history and falsely portray that the communists weren't smart and weren't able to ably affect not just government, FBI, State Department, but also the cultural institutions. And they really did figure out how to rewire and rename communism in everything but name. And so every single crazy construct, whether it be multiculturalism or global warming, has a redistributionist policy attached to it. You will never find a leftist idea that is done in the name of benevolence and an inherent good that a college freshman wouldn't go, who would be against diversity and multiculturalism? And so they're seduced by the nomenclature. They're seduced by the language. And I was too. And when I graduated, I got hit upside the head when I realized that Clarence Thomas was not a free man in their world. He had to abide by their worldview. And if that young lady left, I dedicated my book to him. The Racist. Thank you.
I love your book. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. What did you like about my fun